By no means whatsoever am I a professional on this topic. I don't have a degree on the subject. I didn't go to college for this. I didn't go to school for this. I'm not an 80-year-old great-grandparent who's had years and decades of experience, anything like that. But I have had 2 children. I have what I would describe as a successful marriage, and I just wanted to share personally what I've done to get to a spot where I can say I feel like I've had a successful time having a successful marriage and a successful time raising children. It's become really popular recently to not have kids. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's a personal preference. I don't know if it's the financial stress or if it's the time constraints that children cause or children provide, is the extra amount of time that you have to invest into a human being. But it's become very popular to not have kids, to have pets, or to just not have anything and have 2 incomes, 1 household, and no kids. It's really popular right now. And I don't know why that is, but I think there's a lot of people who do want to have kids, but they don't know how. I mean, they know obviously how, but they don't know how to overcome some of these thoughts and fears that they have. And the ones that I've seen mostly are financial is a big one. The second one is just the time constraint. And the third one is going to be just like that fear of the unknown of like, I don't know how to raise kids. And you just never feel ready. I think a lot of people just don't feel ready. But I truly believe that there's 3 things that you need before you have kids. And once you have these 3 things, you will genuinely feel ready as you can feel. Because when you have kids, if you haven't been around a bunch of siblings, or maybe you haven't like nannied before or anything like that, even if you've done those things, there's something different about having your own children. There's that unknown. There's that, what am I going to do? Am I going to do this right? Am I going to screw them up? When you're a sibling and you're helping to wipe baby butts and change diapers and, watch kids when your parents are out on a date or whatever, or when you're a nanny or a babysitter, that's very different. You're not like responsible for how they turn out. You're responsible for keeping them alive for a short period of time. But when you have kids, then all of a sudden you're responsible for how they turn out. Are they going to be a good person or not? But I truly believe that there are 3 things, and when you have them, you will feel as prepared as possible to be a parent. The first one is actually, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with who you are having a child with. The person that you are having kids with is your partner. They are the person that you're going to lean on. They're the person that you're going to depend on. They're going to be half of this effort. What this means is that you have to have clear and concise communication with this person. You have to have a solid foundation. You have to like this person, not just physically be attracted to them, but actually enjoy spending time with this person. You have to be able to get through tough situations and hard times with this person. You have to be able to lean on this person and depend on this person, and vice versa. It can't be one-sided where you just depend on them and they can't depend on you. That foundation, I would say, is like, if you don't have that, the other 2 don't matter. Absolutely nothing else matters. Do not have children. Please, please, please. Put everything on halt, pause, stop, whatever, wait, and then make sure that you have that right person. And you might be with that right person, and then it might not be the right time because you haven't built that trust. You haven't built that experience with them. You haven't taken the time to build the foundation yet. So I'm not saying go leave your person and go find a new person, but what I am saying is that you have to have a strong foundation before you bring another tiny human into the world that's depending on you. You have to be set up. You have to have a foundation. You don't have to be perfect, but you have to be able to lean and depend on and be able to trust that you can do this with your other person. Trust that you are on the same page with your other person, and you have to have clear communication. If you don't have that, if you're not having weekly date nights, if you're not establishing what your goals are, because if you have a kid and you discover after you have a kid that, whoa, my goals were over here and your goals were over here, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible for the kid because they're going to have to deal with it while you're figuring out your life with this other person. They're now put into this horrible situation of, man, mom and dad aren't on the same page and I'm just here now to deal with it. The way I chose my spouse, and we got married when I was 19 years old, so quite young. And the way that I did it is we were friends before we got married, before we got engaged. We were very close friends. She was my best friend, and we had already been through some stuff, talked through a lot of stuff, and we're very much so on the same page and had solid communication, even just from a friendship level. We did premarital counseling just to make sure, and when you say premarital counseling, people are like, oh, you have problems or whatever. No, what really that is making sure that you're on the same page with the other person. It prevents you from, when you get married, you find out all these things, man, I wish I would have known. You talk about all that stuff beforehand, and I would highly recommend it to each and every single one of you. My wife and I have a date night every single week, and that happened 4 years before we had kids. So we already had established a clear line of communication, and we were able to have that time, know when that time was, spend that time communicating, getting on the same page. So there never really was a time where we were off sync, where we weren't in sync, where we weren't on the same page. And that was a huge thing for us, especially when we had kids, because when you have kids, it's a bumpy 6 to 8 months. I will tell you for sure, it's a lot. That first 6 to 8 months, there's nothing like it. Your life is crazy. But if you don't have a clear and concise communication line with your spouse set up, then you will have a very tough time during those months. And moving forward, as the kids get older and sports and everything else comes up, you will have a very, very tough time with your spouse. So we had that clear communication line set up well before we had kids. And it has been probably the thing that's made us have a successful relationship, is that communication. We talked about the other person, and that's thing number one. Now, thing number two is you. Thing number two is me, the things that I had to work on. It's a lot of self-reflecting. These little creatures are going to want to become you. They want to be exactly like you. They want to do the things that you do. They want to copy you. They want to mimic you, and they will. And as they get older, it's pretty funny because they do things that you do, and you're like, oh, look at that. That's funny. I just did that yesterday, and now he's doing it. That's super funny. Our kids do that all the time. But the scary part is that they mimic you and they copy you and they want to become who you are. And so if I don't have myself set up to where I am happy with the direction I'm heading, and the reason why I say the direction I'm heading is because I'm not happy where I'm at now, but I'm heading in a direction. I'm going somewhere. There's a destination and there's actions that reflect that. So, I'm not in the exact shape that I want to be in, but my kids see me at the gym 3 days a week. They're physically at the gym with me at least 3 days a week. Now, I'm not in the best shape, so they don't see me as, wow, this, crazy jacked dad or whatever, but I'm taking action to go to that space, to get to that space. So I think the biggest thing is setting up where you're going, setting your goals for yourself and with your spouse. My wife and I do that every single week during date night. And setting those goals, setting those aspirations, and then actively working towards it. Because if you are out of shape and you don't go to the gym and you eat poorly, all your kids are going to see is that, man, it's okay to be like dad. It's okay to be like mom. It's okay to do that. Whatever they're doing, it's okay to do that. And they're not working to change it, whether it's health, whether it's your faith, whether it's your finances. It's okay that mom and dad are, broke, and they're not doing anything to change that. Now, if you're broke and you're actively trying to get out of a tough spot and you're actively putting in effort and you're working hard and you're, again, on a journey, on a path, heading in a direction, and you're taking action, you're moving, then it's different. But if you're sitting there being the person that you don't want to be, your kids are going to see that and they're going to become that. They're going to want to be just like mom and dad. And it's so important, and I try to do this each and every week. I try to do it more often than that, but it's so important to set a goal as to where you want to go and then make progress towards that every week visually in front of these little people that you're raising. And it's so good to set that up and start that before you have kids. That way, when you do have kids, it's not some huge shift you have to have. This is just the way you are. You're not there. You haven't made it. You never will. And if you have, please comment below because I'd like to meet you because I'm nowhere near there. But you're never going to make it. And all these kids, though, all they need to see, though, is that you're trying. You're trying to have a good relationship with your spouse. You're making an effort. You're going to the gym. You're aspiring. You're heading towards a goal. You're on your way. You're on a path to something. With your faith, with your family, your finances, your fitness, your friendships, your fun, your focus, all of these F's that we have in our life. You're going towards that goal. Now, real quick, I have to go get some things from Walmart I'm gonna be right back.
5 minutes later.
The last thing that you want to do before you have kids is understand that you're never, ever going to be fully prepared to have children. There's never a right time to have kids, because if you wait for all the lights to be green, it's never gonna happen. You're never gonna have kids. You're gonna find yourself being 30, 40, 50 years old and go, man. And I met people like this. They say, man, I wish I would have had kids. And this applies to people who even have kids. I hear this often from successful people who are older than I am. They'll tell me, I wish I would have had more kids. I had kids, but because I was concerned about my current circumstances, about money, about my time constraints, I didn't. We didn't have more kids, and I wish I would have had more kids. Got a new mic. So I know some people who wish they did have kids, and I know some people that have 5 kids that wish they had even more kids, and that they're so happy that they did have a lot of kids. But what I mean that you're never gonna be ready is that you're not going to be ready with all of the general stuff, with all of the, how to make a bottle, how to change a diaper, how to pick up and know what's a choking hazard and all of that kind of stuff. But the things that should hold you back, the things that are a red light that should stop you is number 1, and number 2, are you with the right person, and are you both on the same page, and have you set up your goals, and are you heading in the right direction? Obviously, you haven't made it, you're never going to have made it, but are you going in the right direction, and are you making progress? The other thing that I hear from a lot of people that they tell me that they're not ready financially. Financially, they cannot handle having a child. Now, yes, it does cost money, and we had medical complications with both of the children, and so it was a little bit expensive, but hospitals will work with you a lot of the times. And I would absolutely recommend getting and having insurance. It is a must have. Make sure you have insurance, but hospitals will work with you. They'll work with you on payments. They'll work with you on whatever you need to do to get through this time. They understand. After the baby's born, it's still not that expensive. Yes, diapers can be expensive. Yes, formula can be expensive. But once you're past that, clothes aren't that expensive because your kids can get hand-me-downs. My kids get hand-me-downs. It's very okay to wear hand-me-downs. I honestly think that it's better to have hand-me-downs than new clothes. No one cares what your 3-year-old is wearing. If your 3-year-old's wearing a 2-year-old jacket versus a brand new one from the store that was $80, nobody is going to care. Food. My kids eat what we eat. I don't buy specific food just for them. We don't buy Dino Nuggies just so he can have his Dino Nuggies while we're over there eating our food. No, we eat meat and we eat vegetables and we have snacks throughout the house and everything like that, but they're all healthy and they're all what he should be eating too. And so he just eats a smaller portion of what we eat. So I don't have to go out there and spend a ton of money buying high-priced, high-dollar kids' food that's separate from what we eat, that's overpriced. They just eat what we eat. So if we eat this much chicken and vegetables, then he eats this much chicken and vegetables. The reason why I made this video is because I did a poll on Instagram, and a lot of people said that they either want to be a successful parent in the future or just have success in general in the future. And I hope that my take on the top 3 things to do before having a child has helped you. I know you're gonna love the rest of our content. Please leave a like, comment below if you have any questions. I'd love to chat about this more, and I'll see you later.